90% of heart bypass patients make no change to prevent the same problem from recurring. Why? Why do we resist change that we want but don't want? Whether it's changing your diet or exercise patterns, addiction recovery, or any form of change, we tend to resist the change that we also want. In this video, we'll crack the code of overcoming resistance to change. What does science tell us? Well, our brains are programmed to seek pleasure and avoid pain, especially in the form of protection. Most of your resistant behaviors are rooted in protection. Protection from loss in general, loss of control, avoiding what you see as threats, avoiding discomfort and the unfamiliar. Think of a person who is doing the behaviors and getting the results you want to get. They have programmed their brain to support these behaviors and experience these results. They address the brain's protective goals by creating a narrative where the behaviors help them feel more in control, less threatened, and they've come to know these behaviors as very familiar because they've reinforced them through repetition. Let's get back to our bypass patient. Why would eating ice cream and not exercising be more important than living? The answer is crucial to understanding drug addiction, addiction recovery, change management, and even organizational behavior. Again, the brain is programmed to seek pleasure. You need to reprogram your brain for another source of pleasure, or you will return to current associations. Let's start there. How do you change pleasure associations? Neurolinguistic programming has a very good answer. Change starts by making a firm choice and by reinforcing that change by associating pleasure with the new. But the more you imagine the desired result and imagine yourself doing the new behaviors in a heightened state of positivity, the more your brain will understand and associate these with pleasure. Making a firm decision and pleasure association are good starts to change, but they're only a start. We need to become aware of other sources of resistance and change our narratives to address them. Then we need to reinforce this narrative with action. Let's return to our heart bypass patient, how he might address resistance by changing his narrative about exercise and ice cream. Let's look at the feeling of loss. Ask yourself or the patient, does the change feel like a loss? Is there a way to shift your narrative so that the new is a gain, not a loss? I actually asked a heart bypass survivor this, and he admitted that, I can see this differently. He envisioned the end result of living in a lean, healthy, energetic body, while also seeing himself doing key actions to create the result. He reinforced this by saying to himself, I reclaim my hot body, and then thought about how that would feel. That's a gain. He continued to look at other common resistance sources. Change often feels uncomfortable. Is there a way to teach your brain to feel comfortable about the new pattern? Well, in this case, our heart bypass patient acknowledged that he would feel uncomfortable for a while as he got traction on a new lifestyle. In other words, he changed his expectation. Change can also feel like a loss of control, a common source of resistance. Who doesn't want to feel in control? So again, I asked the heart bypass patient, is there a way to change his narrative to see the new as a way to gain control? And of course he could. Removing certain foods while seeing his weight return to normal felt good, more in control. He began to shift his imagination, began to shift his narrative to see the behavior differently. Now, our heart bypass patient found power by repeating every single day, I choose to create a lean, healthy, energetic body. He also envisioned both the results and the key decisions he would make every day as he felt pleasure in doing so. He came to see the change as a way to have more control, a gain in every way he could imagine. And as a result, he lived longer and better. Harness the power of the narrative to deal with your sources of change resistance. Speaking of narrative, many years ago I was on a multi-day hike in the middle of nowhere, and I developed serious blisters on my feet the first day. The pain was creating a lot of fear in me as this was a 5-day hike. Desperate, I tried a narrative change by repeating the words, stronger, tougher with each step. And magically, the pain transformed. It now had meaning, and the blisters became manageable, even a non-issue by the third day, simply by changing my narrative. When you change your narrative to address sources of resistance, you change your life. Deciding with certainty, shifting your narrative to address the protective goals of your mind, seeing the new differently and reinforcing the change with consistent thinking and action will create sustained change. Friends, thanks for joining us today. Like and subscribe so other people can find this content. Thanks for joining.